Mike mentioned that today is Transfiguration Sunday, and I'm going to be reading the version from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 2, chapters 9, verses 2 through 9. If you'd like to follow along in your Pew Bible, it's on page 44 of the New Testament section. 6 days later, Mark wants us to know some time has passed, right? 6 days later. Jesus took with him Peter and James and John and led them up a high mountain apart by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his clothes became dazzling white, such as no one on earth could bleach them. And there appeared to them Elijah and Moses, who were talking with Jesus. Then Peter said to Jesus, "Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Let us make 3 dwellings, one for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah." He did not know what to say, for they were terrified. Then a cloud overshadowed them, and from the cloud there came a voice. "This is my son, the beloved. Listen to him." Suddenly, when they looked around, they saw no one with them anymore, but only Jesus. You have the clicker? There are moments when divine presence seems to shimmer and illuminate the spirit in an unexpected way. Perhaps you've had an experience or experiences when a whisper of grace or even sudden awareness of something sacred permeated your sense of being. One would not expect such a divine encounter on Nevada State Highway 374 upon entering the metropolis of Beatty. We've been there before, and trust me, it is not a place I'd expect to have a serendipitous meeting with the Holy Spirit. But as the insurance industry advertises, always expect the unexpected. Or more theologically put, the Holy Spirit moves where she will. Upon driving into Beatty one Tuesday morning in January with Mike, we encountered a wild burro standing in the middle of the road. Am I going the right way? There they are. There's the burro. And Mike appropriately slowed to a stop, and the burro casually looked over its shoulder, feigning mild interest in our arrival before sauntering to the side of the Bronco, Mike's Ford Bronco. Turns out there were close to a dozen wild burros ready to welcome us into the town of Beatty, Nevada. To call them wild is an exaggeration. In less than a minute, 2 of them were approaching my side of the vehicle, and I rolled down my window to take a picture. As you can see, we're nose to nose. I could see the furriness of their winter coat, and it filled me with such an intense joy. Just thinking about it, I'm just filled with glee and delight to be so close to those animals, those resilient beings. It was astounding to me that they would get so close. They came to see me. No, they didn't come to see me. They came to see what they believed I was attached to, food. These are no longer wild burros. Not truly. They're accustomed to people, and people have fed them. So I rolled up the window, and we made our way slowly past the herd into town. But that delight and that joy I experienced lasted for hours, and I can still tap into it. It was Holy Spirit filled, as far as I'm concerned. Burrows in Beatty, an equine welcoming community. It is my experience that the ground of God's being is so much closer than we can imagine, so much more available than we can conceive or even receive. Yet God is ever presenting the reality of sacred presence, of eternal love, all the time. Sometimes it's a whisper, a brief encounter. Sometimes it's an overwhelming moment or more of glory. The notion of glory is something we read about and sing about at Christmas time. The glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. Angels from the realms of glory. The story of the Transfiguration that is told in both Matthew and Mark, it seems unreal, right? Maybe exaggerated, even made up. But I have gained a new appreciation for this story. As much as most preachers want to get us off the mountain, don't be building booths or shrines up there. Now you get back to work. I have come to recognize that while we don't want to get stuck in moments of glory, we need them. We need them. On Christmas Eve, I hinted at what I experienced when my dad died. For in the deep down depths of myself, this is a quote from James Finley, in the deep down depths of myself there shines this invincible death that doesn't take the sorrow away. It unexplainably transcends and permeates it. Something unexplainably transcends and permeates our living, our being. Sometimes we actually experience this shining through, even sorrowful, deeply sorrowful moments, even mundane moments and unexpected moments. I sat on the bed with my dad early morning on December the 3rd. Facing him and his wife Marilyn in a chair next to him and my sister Linda on the other side. And his breathing was more and more slow. He began to stir, he began to wake up, which people do sometimes when they approach the end of this life. And he looked up over at my sister, straining to focus, open his eyes. And then he turned his head and locked eyes with me, his deep blue eyes, wide open, just more than just that they were open. There was something about him that was open. I don't have words for it. It was a moment of connection, of relief for me. And I felt my own chest just open with light. I felt my countenance light up with joy, even as tears streamed down my face. "Hey there," I said, as if I was seeing someone I hadn't seen in a long time. And really the last time we spoke was over a week before at Thanksgiving. "Hey there." What a gift. I love you too, Dad. It's going to be okay. And his eyes relaxed and he closed them a little bit and settled, and the breathing slowed and eventually ceased. I don't know how I spoke what I spoke. But it was with joy. It was with hope. There was glory all around, even within, pouring out. My words are so small to explain what this moments were. The story of the Transfiguration is very different for me, this side of my dad's death. Very different. This side of experiencing what I can only describe as glory, divine glory, transcending and at the same time permeating every moment, every molecule. There is a hidden side of things. There is something about the love of God we know and we experience, and there's something about the love of God that's hidden, that we don't know. The soul acts with its own senses and perceptions, the ways that we come to know the world. But the soul, as James Finley puts it, it doesn't act with its essence. We don't know our essence. I think we unlearn it from our time of our infancy. The essence, the ground of our being. This is our true homeland. I could live in those moments, those last moments with my dad. I could live there. I think eternity opened up briefly. This homeland transcends and permeates our reality all the time, and once in a while it shimmers through or it bursts on the scene, and we don't know how or where it comes from, like whether it's an unexpected vehicle with these not so wild burrows or an unexpected experience like shimmering through death. Imagine how overwhelming, how frightening even, the sudden the experience of divine glory in Moses, the lawgiver, and Elijah, the herald of the day of the Lord, and the teacher Jesus was for these three unsuspecting disciples. They just went up the mountain to have some nice, peaceful prayer time with Jesus. Special time with their teacher. Then there's this abrupt interruption, and eternity breaks through. Such a shock to all the senses, to all the powers that we have. No wonder the iconographers portray these disciples falling over themselves, falling down the side of a mountain even. They're overwhelmed. Whether or not the story passed to us is absolutely factual, that's not the point. There has been an experience of eternity that is handed down from generation to generation. And words and stories they approximate people's experience. And so we get these flashes. And they're so vast and varied, as much as grains of sand on the beach. And we miss a lot of them. Our task, I think, in following Jesus, this exemplar human being, is to find our way back to this essence and live by it, to find our way back to love again and again and again, and live by that love, in that love, from that love. We may not be inclined to build a booth, a monument to those shimmers of grace and bursts of glory that we are blessed to experience. But we do need to practice their memory and be reminded of the love that will not let us go. Jesus didn't ask his disciples to forget. He explicitly said, "Remember me." Remember. we practice every week remembering the sacred experiences of our living. I hope you do. I hope when you come into this sanctuary, part of what you do is recount where God was present with you, for you, in you, in the week that has passed. Creating and recreating with you, noticing them, so that we can walk the path along which we are healed from the impairment of perceiving God's glory that is shining all the time. And so that it can shine all the brighter by being released from what hinders us for living in it and making it apparent in our living, in our loving.